deep dive is all about how we can make forms work for you with that kind of instant validation.
And our mission here really is to unpack the power of that specific moment, the moment you hit save. We're going to break down exactly how a particular piece of JavaScript code kind of steps in, intercepts that save process, and uses it to show custom, helpful validation messages. We're looking at insights from sources like field validation next to save button and the Phprunner save validation script. The goal is to translate the technical side of things into what it actually means for the user experience, making forms feel less like a test and more like a conversation.
Okay, so let's start with the basic problem. You mentioned Phprunner 11.1, which is pretty solid, right? It does highlight fields that fail validation. You get the red box around the field.
Right.
But for someone who's just typed everything in, is just seeing a red box really enough? What's missing there?
Yeah, that's the core question. What's often missing, and what users, frankly, expect now, is an extra message. And not just buried somewhere, but right there, ideally next to the save button itself. Think about it. A highlight tells you something's wrong. It's like a warning light, but a clear message. That tells you what's wrong and maybe even how to fix it. It's the difference between knowing there's a problem and understanding the problem.
Makes sense.
And this becomes super important when you have complex validation rules, things that aren't just, this field can't be empty.
Right, like these two dates don't make sense together or something more nuanced.
Exactly. A simple highlight can't really explain that. You need words. You need that specific message.
Okay, so a red box is the symptom. The message is the diagnosis. Got it. So let's get into the solution. You mentioned JavaScript, and specifically something called an event handler. It sounds like a little bit of code that's just waiting for something to happen.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's like a listener waiting for a specific signal or event on the page, and it's strategically placed to act at precisely the right time.
And that specific time, that event, is called beforeSave. Now, the timing seems really important here. You click save, so you've shown your intent. But this beforeSave thing happens before the data actually gets sent. Is that right?
Exactly right. That's the crucial window. You clicked, but the data hasn't left your browser yet, hasn't gone to the server. It gives the system and our custom script a chance to pause, take a look, run some checks, and if necessary, stop the whole process right there.
Like a final checkpoint.
Precisely. A final checkpoint before it goes off to be saved permanently. And by registering our JavaScript function to listen for this beforeSave event, which for anyone using Phprunner usually means putting the code in the JavaScript onload event for the add or edit page. We ensure our little checkpoint guard is ready the moment the page loads.
Okay, so it's ready and waiting.
Yep. And it allows for what we call client-side validation, meaning the check happens right in your browser instantly without needing a slow round trip to the server just to find out you missed a field.
That makes a lot of sense for speed and responsiveness. Okay, so we know when this happens during that beforeSave window. How does the JavaScript actually do the checking? Let's walk through the code logic a bit.
Let's do it. Pretty logical, step by step. First things first, the script needs to know which field on the form it's supposed to be validating. Let's say it's a description field. So the script uses a function often provided by the framework like Phprunner called something like runner.getControl. It basically says, hey, find me the control element for the input named howToDescription.
Okay, so it grabs that specific box. It gets a handle on it, as you said earlier.
Exactly. It gets a reference to that specific field object.
So once it's focused on that field, how does it know if the content is valid or not? Does it have to manually check? Is it empty? Is it too short?
Thankfully, no. That would be really inefficient.
Yeah.
The field control itself usually has its own built-in validation logic, right? You define the rules elsewhere, like required, min length 50, etc. So the script just tells the field control, okay, run your checks. It calls a method, maybe .validate.
Ah, okay. So it delegates the actual checking to the field itself.
Right. And that validate method does the work and returns a result. Usually this result tells you two things. One, did it pass? A simple true or false.
Yeah.
And two, if it failed, what were the error messages associated with the failed rules?
Okay, so it gets back this result object, pass, fail, and the error details if it failed. This feels like the moment of truth. If that result comes back false, validation failed, what happens right then? This is where the user sees something.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where the user experience magic happens. If VREs.result is false, the script jumps into action. First, it needs to build that helpful message we talked about. It looks at which validation rules failed for that specific field. Maybe the length rule failed. Maybe a required rule failed. It collects all the corresponding error messages like description must be at least 50 characters and description cannot be empty.
Okay.
And it combines them into one clear, informative string. Something like it must be at least 50 characters, cannot be empty.
So not just error, but why there's an error.
Precisely. Then it takes this message and displays it on the page. There's usually a dedicated spot for this, maybe a little area near the save button with an ID-like error message. The script uses something like jQuery, a common JavaScript tool, to find that spot and instantly inject the message, #error message.html message, that kind of thing.
Instant feedback right where you're looking. That's huge. But hang on, what about the save button itself? Sometimes when you click save, it gets grayed out, right? To stop you clicking it twice.
Good point. Yes, forms often disable the save button momentarily during processing.
So if our script is stopping the save because validation failed, we need that button to become clickable again, don't we? Otherwise, the user is stuck.
Absolutely crucial. If the save is canceled, the user needs to be able to fix the error and try again. So this script explicitly re-enables the save button. It removes that disabled state, page object.getItem button, addSave.remove class, disabled, something like that.
Okay, so the user sees the error message, the button becomes active again, they can fix the problem. But here's the big question. How does the script actually stop the save? We've shown the error, re-enabled the button, but we need to make sure that bad data doesn't actually get submitted.
This is the linchpin, the single most important command in the failure scenario. The event handler function simply executes return false.
Return false. Just that.
Just that. In the context of a beforeSave event handler, returning false is the universal signal to the system saying, stop, do not proceed with the save operation.
Wow, so it's like pulling the emergency brake.
Exactly like that. The data submission is halted immediately, nothing gets sent to the server, bad data is blocked right at the source.
That's incredibly powerful for such a simple command.
It is, it's elegant, really.
Okay, so that covers failure. What if everything is fine? What if VRE.result comes back true?
Ah, the happy path.
Right. If the validation passes, we don't need error messages, we don't need to stop anything. The user just wants the form to save.
Precisely. In that case, the else part of the logic kicks in. If VREs.result is true, the function simply does the opposite. It executes return true.
Okay, so return true means?
It means all clear, validation passed, proceed with the save operation as planned.
Got it. Green light.
Exactly. The system gets the green light, and the form data is then sent off to the server for normal processing and saving to the database. Clean and simple.
It's actually quite elegant when you break it down like that. The small bit of JavaScript using the beforeSave event, it completely changes the game for form interaction, doesn't it? From potentially really frustrating to actually quite helpful.
It really does. And if you think about the bigger picture, this technique isn't just for simple checks like, is the field empty? Its real power often comes in enforcing those complex business rules we mentioned earlier.
Right, the nuanced stuff.
Yeah, things that basic form settings just can't handle.
Yeah.
Imagine checking if a selected username is already taken before submitting. Or ensuring that if you select Other in a dropdown, the corresponding Please Specify text box is actually filled out.
Oh, that's a classic one.
Right. This beforeSave script can handle that logic beautifully right there in the browser. It catches inconsistencies before they hit the server, which saves processing time, reduces back-end errors, and honestly just makes the whole application feel smarter and more robust.
And it maintains data integrity too, right? You're stopping bad data before it even gets close to the database.
Absolutely. That's a huge benefit. Better data quality from the start. It's a prime example of how good client-side scripting, the stuff running in your browser, can make server-side processes, the stuff happening on a web server, much more efficient and reliable.
Plus that speed factor we touched on, getting that validation message instantly client-side instead of waiting for the server to respond, that feels significantly better as a user.
Oh, definitely. In today's world, users expect that immediacy. Waiting several seconds just to be told you made a typo feels, well, it feels broken.
Yeah.
This beforeSave approach delivers that instant feedback. It respects the user's time, reduces friction, and ultimately builds trust in the application. It makes filling out the form feel less like a chore. So yeah, wrapping up this deep dive really highlights how a well-timed JavaScript event, some smart message handling, and careful control of UI elements like the save button can fundamentally change a user's interaction with a form, turning potential frustration into a clear, guided experience. It really shows how much impact thoughtful front-end development can have on both user satisfaction and data quality.
So, as you go about your digital life, maybe filling out forms online, think about those moments of validation. When does it work well? When does a form just stop you with a confusing error? Or maybe guide you perfectly? Consider these hidden bits of code, like this beforeSave handler we explored. How are these tiny, almost invisible micro-interactions shaping your experience? Making things feel smooth or maybe making them feel incredibly clunky? What other invisible helpers or hindrances are running just beneath the surface of the websites and apps you use every day? And imagine, how much smoother could things be if every form gave you that kind of instant helpful guidance? Something to think about.